Have you been wanting to get a bearded dragon, but you have no idea about the color variations and morphs that they can have? Bearded dragons all over the world can come in different kinds of morphs. My name is Stella, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about bearded dragon morphs. I'm joined by my bearded dragon, Pixie. This video is a collaboration with Clumsy Critters. Be sure to check their channel out for a video on hamster breeds. So first, let's talk about what are bearded dragon morphs for any of our people who are new to the reptile hobby. So morphs are like colors or like patterns in really any reptile or any animal at all, I'm pretty sure. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about bearded dragon morphs, which is bearded dragon colors or patterns. Now, before the video starts, I just want to make it clear that the white part on my bearded dragon's tail has nothing to do with colorations or morphs. That is just shed on my bearded dragon. So please do not think that has anything to do with colorations or morphs and bearded dragons. Let's start off with the first morph. The first morph is the normal or wild type. Normal bearded dragons have grayish brown colors. They're going to be the dragons that you see in the wild, like the same coloration as the bearded dragons you see in the wild. And their spikes are also going to be the same as the bearded dragons in the wild. So for example, bearded dragons who are normal have spikes all over their body, which is why they might feel a little bit rough in texture compared to some other morphs such as the leatherback morph. And so this is why you might not want to get a normal bearded dragon, because they do feel kind of rough. But I've never touched one, so personally, I don't know. This is just from the research I've done. So that's why you might not want to get a normal bearded dragon, since their skin or scales can feel a bit rough. However, normal bearded dragons typically tend to be a lot cheaper than any bearded dragons with fancier morphs. So that's why you might want to get a normal bearded dragon. Also, normal bearded dragons have distinctively black nails. So, for example, my bearded dragon, I'm going to try to show you as best as I can. My bearded dragon has clear or white nails. I'll tell you what kind of morph that is in a second here. But normal bearded dragons would have black nails. So, she is not a normal bearded dragon, as you can see. Moving on to our second morph. That is the hypomorph. Now, the hypomorph reduces any dark pigment in the bearded dragon. And hypo bearded dragons also have white or clear nails. So, can you tell if my bearded dragon is a normal bearded dragon or if my bearded dragon is a hypo bearded dragon based on her coloration and her nails? Yep, you guessed it. She is a hypo bearded dragon. Hypo bearded dragons have clear white nails and they don't have any dark pigments in them. So typically they are more pastel. And so I happen to really like the hypo coloration, and that's why many people do want to get themselves a hypo bearded dragon, because they are colorful. And I'm not going to talk about the colors, I'm going to talk about the morphs. So I know that there's colors such as citrus, which is like a yellowy color, but I'm not going to talk about colors. This is only morphs. So if you're here for the colors, you should definitely click off and watch another video. So hypo bearded dragons are pretty popular in the pet trade because many families want to get a colorful pet. Hypos are clearly, well, obviously more expensive than normals because they are lighter in coloration. The next morph we're going to be talking about is the leatherback morph. Now, the leatherback morph is when bearded dragons don't have all the spikes on the entire body. So, for example, normal bearded dragons have their spikes on the entire body. However, leatherback bearded dragons only have spikes on their beard or like chin area, and they also have spikes on their sides. So, let's identify what kind of morph my bearded dragon is. We already know that she's a hypo based on her nails, and we know that she's a hypo based on her coloration. But now, can you spot whether she's a leatherback or not? She has scales on her side. She has spikes on her side. She doesn't have spikes over here. And she has spikes on her beard. So my bearded dragon is a leatherback bearded dragon. And leatherback bearded dragons are softer to the touch than normal bearded dragons, which is why many families would like to get them. My bearded dragon, being a hypo leatherback, 50% het Wilbits bearded dragon, I'll get to what the Wilbits morph is in a second or so. So my bearded dragon is a hypo leatherback, 50% het Wilbits, and so she was $175. So bearded dragons with morphs or colorations are going to be obviously more expensive. So that's the leatherback morph. The next morph we're going to be talking about is the Dunner morph. So I'm not 100% sure what a Dunner morph is. I've done research on it, so my information might not be 100% correct, and I very much apologize for that. But from my understanding, a Dunner morph is when they have vertical lines instead of horizontal lines, and their scales go in different directions. And there is such thing as a leatherback Dunner because they can like be in one. Does that make sense? So basically, Dunners have their scales going out through different sides, and their spikes going out through different sides, and their scales are typically disorganized, so they're not going to be as organized as normal bearded dragons or any other morph bearded dragon. So that's how you can distinguish a Dunner bearded dragon. Once again, I'm very sorry if the Dunner information is not correct. I tried my best to understand what the Dunner morph was, but yeah. So pretty sure that Dunner morph is when they have vertical lines instead of horizontal lines. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I know that Dunner morph is when they have disorganized scales and their spikes go in different directions. Next morph we're going to be talking about is the translucent morph. The translucent morph is when bearded dragons have, well, in the name, translucent like bellies or like beards. They're called trans for short. So trans bearded dragons are like when they're babies, you can sometimes see like the inside of their belly. No, not like actually the inside of their belly, but there's like a bluish hue to it. So that's how you can tell a translucent bearded dragon as a baby. And also a key figure in telling translucent bearded dragons is by looking at their eyes. Translucent bearded dragons almost always have their eyes completely black. So by looking at my bearded dragon's eyes, I already gave away what morph she is. But by looking at my bearded dragon's eyes, you can see that hers is not completely black. It's actually brown. So she is not a translucent bearded dragon. Translucent bearded dragons also kind of have a more alien look to them since they have black eyes and they can be like light in color or like, normal bearded dragon. So that's why many people would like to get a translucent bearded dragon. The next morph we're going to be talking about is the silkback or Silky's bearded dragons morph for short. So I really honestly hate, well, I don't want to say hate because that's kind of over-exaggerating in a bit, but I really don't like people who breed silky bearded dragons. Let me tell you why. Silky bearded dragons have very soft skin and they have like almost no scales at all. Actually, they have no scales at all basically. And so the problem with silkies is that they are scaleless. And that's why many people would like to get silkies. They're more colorful, they're softer. However, there's a downside to that. Bearded dragons obviously need heat and UVB. However, for silkies, that heat burns their skin. And so they have a lot of skin shedding issues and they can get burns. And it's just really sad to see, which is why I do not like silky bearded dragons. It's basically torturing the bearded dragon. I'll definitely make a controversial reptiles list one day, and silkies will most definitely be on that. Silky bearded dragons are, I think I mentioned this a little bit a few seconds ago, but silky bearded dragons are also more colorful, which is why families might want to get them as pets. However, like I said, they really shouldn't be pets. And because of their issues, I'm assuming, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming that they don't have a very long lifespan from this. Silky bearded dragons can be achieved by breeding 2 leatherback bearded dragons. And if you breed 2 leatherback bearded dragons, then because leatherbacks have softer skin and they have less spikes, then you're obviously going to get a silky. However, if you do want to get something softer, definitely go for a leatherback because leatherback bearded dragons are not like silkies. They can handle the heat. They do not have shedding issues at all. And they're just like any other bearded dragon. So if you do want a bearded dragon that doesn't have as much of a rough skin type, you should definitely go for a leatherback. There are obviously a lot of morphs to bearded dragons. Pixie, what are you doing? There are obviously a lot of morphs to bearded dragons. And I'm probably not going to name them all in this video, but I'm going to try my best to. So the next morph we're going to be talking about is the German Giant. The German Giant is really just a larger bearded dragon. They're bred to be larger, and you probably can't tell if they're a German Giant unless A, the breeder tells you because they bred 2 German Giants, or B, if they're adults. So German Giants are obviously going to be much larger than standard bearded dragons. And German Giants are just a normal coloration, normal morph, just they're larger. So they're obviously going to need a larger enclosure. And many people might want to get a German Giant because they just like the size. So if you want a family pet that is a bearded dragon, but you want something a bit larger, you should definitely go for a German Giant. And remember, you can achieve different morphs by mixing them together, so you can have a hypo German Giant too, if you're interested in that. The next morph we're going to be talking about is the Zero morph. Zero bearded dragons are basically white bearded dragons. They lack color and they lack pattern. And so they're growing rapidly in popularity because many people would like a bearded dragon that looks pretty, and they are like almost completely white. They have like this very light yellow to them sometimes. And if you breed a hypo with a Zero, then you'll get like completely white babies. So that's why they are growing in popularity, because many people want something that's, pretty. And since Zero bearded dragons lack color and pattern, then it would look really pretty. In the beginning, when I first wanted a bearded dragon, I wanted a Zero because they looked really pretty, and I was planning on naming it Olaf. But of course, Zero bearded dragons are a lot more expensive. So that's why I ended up with this little cutie instead. And I don't regret my decision at all. Moving on to the next bearded dragon morph, that is the Wilbits morph. I think I mentioned earlier that my bearded dragon is 50% het Wilbits morph. And if you're wondering what het means, it means that the parent, or one of the parents, or both of the parents even, carried the morph, and it didn't. So let's just say that this is parent A and parent B. Say parent A had hypo in them. And say parent B was just a normal. When they create a baby, say like them combined over here, this is a baby. Say the baby was normal, it would be hypo because the parent was hypo, and so it carries the gene hypo. I hope that kind of makes sense. So anyways, I was continuing. The Wilbits morph means that the Wilbits morph is actually kind of similar to the Zero morph. And so what happens with the Wilbits morph is that they're usually a bit darker. They're like a gray color from what I understand. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not an expert on breeding bearded dragons. So if you don't really want to listen to me, you should definitely listen to someone who knows what they're talking about completely. Anyways, as I was continuing. So Wilbits bearded dragons are pretty similar to Zeros, except they usually keep some of the color, or retain, I think that's the word. Anyways, they usually keep some of their color. So like, you might see a little bit bearded dragon with a little bit of orange on the side, or you might see a little bit bearded dragon with a little bit of yellow on the side. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what a Wilbit's bearded dragon is. Wilbit's bearded dragons are not completely zeros. Remember, zeros are like all white. Wilbit's bearded dragons are just more, they're not hypo, they're more muted than a hypo. They're just not exactly zeros. So they're less colorful than, they're less colorful than a zero, but they're more muted than a hypo. I hope that makes sense. And also, in case you're wondering, hypo is just the short name for hypomelanistic. So really, the word is hypomelanistic, but it's called hypo for short. So in case you're a bit confused on that, that's what it is. So that's all of the morphs I'm going to be talking about. I'm sure that there's plenty of more. And remember, I'm only talking about morphs in this video, not colors. So I'm pretty sure that there's a ton more morphs. But I tried my best to name all of them, and I really don't want this video getting too long. So, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and remember to go check out Clumsy Critters channel, link in the description below. Remember to comment any video ideas you have down below, and I'll see you next time. So, in today's video, we're going to be talking about bearded dragon morphs, or bearded dragon's colors, bearded dragon color, and